First, I would like to thank the organizers, IIT Kanpur, NEERI, and iForest, and the World Bank that for giving me this opportunity to share my views on the very important topic of hotspots identification and setting up of priority action plans for the critical zones or the critical hotspots. As you have already undergone through the different modules or different lectures, as you see that the lot of air pollution activities are taking place in any region, and these have adverse impacts on the human health, be it is the respiratory system or the other physiological problems, but the problems are quite severe in the particularly in the urban areas. So and that certain actions are required in the areas where the high concentration of pollutants are observed. So this session will give you about the understanding of the air pollution hotspots, what is the definition or the criteria that when we say that it is a hotspot, how to prioritize action plans for different sources, for different parameters, and also for the different regions. And I would like to explain it through a case study of Delhi city, which is having a lot of monitoring stations and a lot of air pollution related issues. So if you look at that Ministry of Environment and Forest has come out with a very comprehensive and holistic framework of NCAP, under which this training program is also going on, and that covers entire the gambit of air pollution related activities. And this is basically divided into 10 chapters, which covers of the overview of formulation of NCAP, sources of air pollution, ongoing government active initiatives, non-attainment cities, National Clean Air Action Plan, mitigation actions, actions for knowledge and database augmentation, actions for institutional strengthening, broad strategies for at different levels, and then source apportionment study for Delhi, conducted by TERI and ARI. Just to recap the things, I'm just linking the things. And the overview of the National Clean Air Program has set a target of 20 to 30% reduction of PM 2.5 and PM10 concentration by 2024, wherein 2019 has been kept as the tenure that during this 2019 to 24, this reduction should be achieved. And for the long-term plans, it will be reviewed after achieving the targets by 2024. So then the long-term plans can be achieved. And now how it is to be achieved, the approach is multi-sectoral and collaborative, and integration into different policies, smart cities, as the previous speaker has also explained about it, the smart cities framework to start with, and then it will go to the all the non-attainment cities of the country. The stringent or the what are the objectives of that is the stringent implementation of the mitigation measures for prevention, control, and abatement of air pollution, augmentation and strengthening of air quality monitoring network across the country, which is almost already 700 plus manual monitoring stations are there. And in addition to that, nearly 200 plus continuous air quality monitoring stations are there. And besides, many industries are also monitoring in their region, augmenting public awareness and capacity building through different measures. And this broad framework needs to be translated as per the city specific issues and their needs. So the thing is that whatever is applicable for one city, depending upon the sources of air pollution, the meteorological conditions and all that thing, how the city is built up, what are the different activities, these frameworks are to be defined or designed to meet the requirement of the cities or the hotspots even within the cities. So what are these cities as per the CPC or as per the MOEF document? So these non-attainment cities are listed here. You can say that the cities which are having the concentration of PM210 in last 5 years from 2011 to 2015 period, those are considered as the non-attainment cities. And this rings you can see in the green circle, orange circle, blue circle, and yellow and black circle. These are the level of severity that what is the level of PM10 concentration in these cities. So this becomes if I look at the context of the entire city, entire country, then these becomes the first hot spots. These are the hot spots, means these are the priority action cities where the actions are needed So once these cities are identified, if you look at this map and the criteria, this Lucknow becomes one of the most polluted cities, and there's some cities in the Uttar Pradesh like Agra, Khurja, Bareilly, they become the next level of most polluted cities kind of thing. And the red cities you will see mostly in the northern India and plus part of the central India. And most of the southern part of the country, it is the green circle. You can say that the levels are within the acceptable limits, or the hot spots or the non-attainment is limited to certain level, and which can be achieved by certain measures if the measures are taken appropriately. But again, this is to be translated, a few points to be noted with respect to the non-attainment cities, which is again, I'm saying that it is a hot spot in the context of the country. If you look at the entire country, then this becomes the priority areas for the country to take actions for each city. And in the city also, there may be a number of hot spots, the local hot spots, which require even more attention to deal with. So just a few points to note that this is with respect to the PM10 levels observed during the 5 years period from 2011 to 2015. And these are the basically the cities covered under the National Air Quality Monitoring Program of CPCB. And most of the cities, these stations are operated by state pollution control boards, regional offices, plus few research and academic institutes. And this is based on the twice a week monitoring, thus having 104 observations per year. And mostly RDS samplers are used, that is respirable dust samplers. Now the monitoring instrument has also changed from RDS to PM10 samplers, and many places limited hours sampling is done. That means that in some few places that monitoring is not done for 24 hours. It is sometimes only one time, or the 8 hours monitoring is done, or sometimes it is overnight monitoring is done, or daytime monitoring is done, like that. And field operational plus some field operational difficulties, calibration of the instruments or the samplers, and lab weighing of the filter papers before and after, and all those things. And the most important aspect is the representativeness of the AQM site, where the air quality is monitored, how much area it represents. That is very important. If it is a one location, how much area does it represent? Few kilometers or the entire city? Because many of the cities under the NAMP program, these are having only 1 or 2 monitoring stations. So what is the representativeness of the air quality monitoring site? What is the area of coverage that should be understood? So these are the key important points which should be kept in mind while designing the action plans. Now, coming to that, what forms air quality in any region? This could be your city, this could be any city, this could be any region. Yes, land is there, certain active water bodies are there, some ecological forms are there, then some industries are there, agricultural activities are there, domestic emissions are there, traffic is there. So all kind of activities are taking place, and many of the activities lead into the emissions of air pollution. And where the activities are more, those are likely to be the hot air pollution hotspot areas. Like the previous speaker has narrated about the different sources of air pollution, what could be the, whether it is crematoria, whether it is hotels and restaurants, residential areas, industries, many sources could be there. And once these emissions are released into the atmosphere, they are governed by the meteorology of that area. So the entire exercise or the entire gambit is played by the tool. What are the level of activities in that area and the sources which are resulting into the air pollution, and then how this pollution is, once it comes to the atmosphere, how it behaves, how it interacts in the atmosphere, and what are the different processes taking place in the atmosphere. Whether it is getting just transported by the prevailing wind conditions, or some chemical transformations taking place, some dispersion is taking place, or if it is raining, then some pollutants can get removed in this process. So the entire exercise or the entire process takes place in this given region. And this becomes, and what is the resultant air quality in that region, that needs to be identified at different zones or different areas or different localities. So those could be One is the source wise, that what are the, if the industries are there, certain activities are taking place, then it becomes one kind of hotspot. Yes, the emissions are to be controlled at that point of time, at that location. But when it comes to the air quality hotspots, then it will be the concentration, it is where the high concentrations are getting formed. So those become the air quality hotspots where the quality has to be checked. Now, for any urban area, you will find these kind of number of sources: vehicular activities, industries, domestic sources, road dust, biomass burning, hotels, restaurants, crematorias, construction, demolition waste. This is special stubble burning, particularly in the northern region, or the agricultural residues burning, which is taking place throughout the country. So uh, then landfill sites, garbage burning particularly, and there could be many other sources which are not properly accounted. So this becomes a total the air quality of say any 60 microgram or 100 microgram per meter cube. Then this becomes how it is distributed or how it is contributed by different sources of air pollution. So that defines the what could be the likely hotspot. The source contribution in the city or area depends on the activity level and local meteorological conditions prevailing during the different hours of the day, during weekly, during different months, during different seasons, and years to years. So again, there could be so many criteria to define the hotspot with respect to the different variables. And as far as the Delhi or northern India is concerned, now again, this is a activity dependent additional sources of air pollution which become very prominent during the post monsoon. The stubble burning and the situation becomes in a lot of biomass burning takes place during the winter period, that makes the entire Delhi NCR and the northern India is a hot spot. The entire region becomes a hot spot. It is not only the few pockets in Delhi, but the entire northern India becomes a hot spot. Now, how to prepare the formulate the city level action plans? I'll just quickly go through that. Now, just few days back or a few months back, when the onset of the post-monsoon, there was a new news item published in the Times of India that 60% of the Delhi's winter pollution not its doing. That means the sources of air pollution which are responsible for the poor air quality in Delhi are not responsible because its own activities. So it is coming from the nearby states, nearby districts, or near, or maybe the transboundary regions, or maybe outside the country also. So that means the contribution of the activities taking place in Delhi is just 36%. And I think such kind of again is subjected to certain lot of question marks or points to be looked into with this, that is it for the entire season, is it for the particular day, or is it for the certain period? So this could not be applied for the entire winter season. So it is saying the winter pollution, should it be or can it be? I'll just go into the further deep into this. This is the basic source apportionment of the PM 2.5 during winter, where the contribution of the biomass burning is reported to be 23%, dust and construction is 16%, vehicle is 30%, industries is 20%, and 11% is of the winter. Now, if we look at the what is the possible sources in Delhi, the analysis has been done. What is the contribution of the activities which are in Delhi are 36%. If you look at the cursor, it is the four categories are there. Yellow is the upwind regions outside India. That means the region beyond the Punjab area, beyond the Haryana and Punjab area, and those goes to Pakistan or beyond that. So this is that area which is coming upwind regions outside India. Then the second green one is that upwind regions outside NCR, because NCR has a limited boundary and has part of the Haryana district, but it does not include Punjab. So this could be from the Punjab side, and then NCR except Delhi, because NCR is a very vast region having something about 50,000 plus square kilometer area, and Delhi has just nearly 1,500 square kilometer area. So the entire air pollution is contribution of the activities in Delhi is only 36% from the different activities taking place within the Delhi. And this Delhi has a population of something about 2.5 crores, where the entire NCR is also having a population of that order. But the difference is only the level of activity in terms of the domestic sources, in terms of vehicular activities, in terms of industries, and all these related sources. Right. So again, this kind of analysis needs to be looked into critically and see the applicability where it applies and in what condition this applies. Similarly, for the other regions, and here interesting is that if you look at the Panipat, it does not, it reflects that the contribution of Delhi in Panipat is negligible. But if the wind direction is from Panipat to Delhi, then probably it can contribute as high as 70% in Delhi. Similarly for Bahadurgarh. So this again becomes the hotspot for that area. And on the action point, it becomes a kind of situation that it seems that only 36% is being contributed by Delhi. So what we can do, 60% plus is being contributed by outside Delhi activities. So the what is left for the people in Delhi to do to control the air pollution. And then again, the control measures should be applicable for a wider region. That is a good point, that it should be applicable for a wider region. But certainly the presence of the huge number of activities, sources in Delhi, I mean, there is a need to properly account all these sources and take a review or revisit this thing and see that in what context or with it's applicable for the day-to-day basis or the monthly basis or the seasonal basis or the yearly basis. That needs to be looked into. Another example is that certain areas, pockets within Delhi are identified as a hotspot. In 2019-20, during the winter period, 15 such hotspots were identified. During 2021, these hotspots increased to many other additional 15 new hotspots. So again, this becomes a critical issue. That means there are certain pockets in the city itself where the air pollution levels are much higher and needs action plan accordingly. So now again, I would say that what are the few questions come in mind, then what is a hotspot? When it should be declared as a hotspot, what are the criteria and what additional measures are required to deal with such situations where the concentrations are high? Another example I will show you just that this kind of news items are published on daily basis in Delhi, because as I said, the entire Delhi, NCR, northern India is a hotspot. Entire region is a hotspot. But when it comes to city-specific action plans, it becomes important to understand that how this air pollution dynamics takes place. And if you see that in the blue circle, there are 3 places, and one is the most polluted city, and close to that is the least polluted city. And the distance between the 2 stations is not even 5 kilometers. So once we are preparing the action plan for any city, I think these local factors becomes very important to look into. Yes, the major plans are there, but it requires a assessment of the local situations, ground situations, and see that how these can influence the parameters those are being monitored at the air quality monitoring site. And the second least polluted city is also within 5 kilometers or that area. So most polluted area and the least polluted area both are there in the same 5 kilometer zone area. So it means that there are certain critical hotspots near the air quality monitoring sites which are getting represented in the monitored values, or perhaps the meteorological conditions changes very quickly, but these kind of observations are very frequent in most of the days during the winter season. And these kind of diagrams are published in newspaper on daily basis, and the entire population of Delhi, whosoever is reading the newspaper, gets exposed to that kind of information. What are the different levels of air pollution in Delhi, and what are the most critical polluted area, what are the least polluted area? All those informations are there. And this became the trigger for the hotspot identification for us. I'll show you another example of recent 2001. You can see the most polluted city is having a AQI index of 2331. The second most polluted city is in the Pusa area, which is supposed to be a cleaner area, but the value is 1860. It does not fall in any category of the AQI. The levels are, even the severe category is crossed by 5 times. So whatever targets are set for 5 years, perhaps that kind of approach again needs to be looked into, whether anything can be attained or whether the data presented in such kind of analysis are really accurate or something wrong with the data itself. And even the lowest is having something air quality in the very poor range, the least polluted areas or the least, and which are again in the same within 5 to 7 kilometer area, the highest and the lowest. So this becomes even more important to understand that what the real meaning of hotspot and what could be the local factors that are responsible for making these as a hotspot or the least polluted area. So this calls for the site-specific air quality management plans and need for local factors assessment. That is very important. The local authorities or the people who are responsible for that, they should understand this aspect very well. I'll take you another example. This is one of the air quality monitoring stations. You might be, those who are in Delhi, or they might be knowing it, that this is Anand Vihar air quality monitoring station. So basically what the air quality monitoring represents. So what are the different activities taking place in that nearby region? It is a reflection of that first. The rest of the things will come second, but first it is the activities which are taking place in that region will be captured first. This is 500 meter, this is 1 kilometer. So within 1 kilometer circle, you will find that there are nearly movement of 2,400 buses on daily basis, which include nearly 1,500 CNG buses and 900 diesel buses. There is one bus stand of UP Transport, and there's a lot of dust is there in the nearby area, the parking places. There is another bus stand of ISBT in the Anand Vihar area, which is again within 500 kilometers from that. Railway station is there, open playground is there, and then other domestic or commercial activities are taking place within this area. So huge potential for generating the emissions in this area by these activities. So apart from the what we can say from the transboundary pollution or from the outside pollution, there is an ample scope of the air pollution getting reflected at this air quality monitoring site. That is very important. That yes, what should be my first action plan? I should visit the entire area critically and see, yes, what are the possible areas and where it should be checked first. Like in the previous speaker has explained about the different emission inventory. So the emission inventory of this entire region has to be prepared. Forget about the larger region, but what is happening around the air quality monitoring site, that needs to be prepared first, because the control has to be done on the emissions. Where what is the source of emission, there the control has to come. To further explain that, when we work out on the LULC of that area, it works out to be that 73% of the entire area is built up area. Built up area means lot of activities are taking place, and the barren land, which are the open land or the fallow land type of was there, which becomes again a source of the air pollution, is 15%, and only for 12% area has some vegetation. So what is a hotspot? Hotspot can simply be defined as a priority area for air quality management that fails to meet air quality standard. If we are looking at the national context, yes, non-attainment cities are the first target. But when we further go down, it becomes the city. Within the city, there could be several hotspots, and those hotspots are to be identified even within the city. And there could be n number of hotspots. If we talk of Delhi, if it is 1,500 square kilometer area, there could be 100 hotspots. There could be 20 hotspots. But again, each hotspot has to be identified. And what are the local sources? First, local sources responsible to make it hotspot. And it is based on the levels, the air quality levels, where it does not meet the air quality standards. That means the monitoring has to be carried out first. And if the levels are not meeting the standards, then, and Is it one time? It is 1 week? It is 1 month? What is the criteria that when we should call it as a hotspot? It is not a single measurement of saying 2000 AQI. There are many gadgets are available in the market which will just you take it to the field and say that this is the 1500 value, this is 1000 value, and this becomes a hotspot. The hotspots are not identified based on that. If that is the criteria, that should be very clearly say that this is this peak situation that has occurred, and this is only limited to certain duration. And how this hotspot is affected, this hotspot will depend upon the air quality monitoring station location, whether it is a roadside location, industrial area, residential area, commercial area, or where it is placed. Basically, the sampler is placed, activity types, levels, and magnitude within that area, zone of influence, immediate vicinity. So domain has to be defined. Immediate vicinity, half kilometer, 1 kilometer, 10 kilometer, or the district level. But the condition is that the other sources should not influence it. If there are so many sources are getting influenced, so that again it becomes the difficult. It becomes challenging to manage that. Then again, the hotspot could be daily hotspot, weekly hotspot, monthly hotspot, like that. And the parameters of interest. So at present, we are talking only of the PM 2.5 and PM 10. But again, the hotspot could be with respect to the other air quality parameters. Like if you're talking, if some city has higher pollution, vehicular pollution, then it could be another parameters of interest could be carbon monoxide. It could be NO2. And if it is some industrial area where the organic pollutants are there, it could be perhaps pH could be another indicator, or like that. So depending upon the region where what type of activity levels are there, there could be different n number of hotspots defined, and the action has to be taken accordingly, depending upon the sources, depending upon the level of activity, depending upon the meteorological levels, etc. So it is not a single parameter, it could be multiple parameter also. So accordingly, the action has to be prepared. We did an analysis of 3 years data in Delhi. I'll just quickly go through the case study of Delhi. We analyzed the data for the last 3 years, 2018, 19, 19, 20, 2021, and we found there are 38 air quality monitoring stations in Delhi, and we analyzed the data for the entire 3 years period. These are the continuous air quality monitoring station. A very good data was available, so we have analyzed the entire data. But if you see the even the difference between the different air quality data levels, we'll find a huge difference in that. The lowest one is 100 microgram per meter cube, the average value, but at the same time, the highest value could be 300. So that way, this is the PM 2.5 level. So there could be the 100 to 300 variation even in the same city. So this is the point I wanted to show here, that this could be the difference, that 100, 152 to 300. So these are not uniform. So that means the local hotspots are there, local activities are influencing this, and this is the annual average. I mean, this is the monthly values. And for 3 years, the more or less the similar kind of patterns are there. Of course, there is a seasonal pattern is seen that the values in monsoon are less, followed by summer, and then post monsoon, the concentration starts building up in post monsoon and winter season, and month becomes March month becomes kind of transition month where the winter is ceasing off and the summer is to begin soon. So that kind of is coming. So again, the levels come down in that region. So it is again becomes very important whether that should be taken into the winter month or the summer month. The data of March, where it should be considered. This is one important point I wanted to flag here again. So you can see a lot of variations, high seasonal variations with the peak in post-monsoon winter and least in the monsoon, high variations between stations during peak seasons, 100 to 300 like that. Variations in monsoon season is least. And this has been published in the Science of the Total Environment. The entire criteria I'll be explaining further. Identification of air pollution hotspots in urban areas, an innovative approach for using monitored concentrations data. So the criteria that we chose for analysis of this data was that the hotspot is a function of 3 criteria basically that we have devised. The three criteria are the frequency of days exceeding daily standards of 60 microgram per meter cube. This is first criteria. Frequency of days exceeding daily NAQS of 60 microgram per meter cube. The second criteria was monthly average concentrations exceeding 1.5 times of the standards. And the third criteria is days consistently exceeding 1.5 times the standards. So these are the three criteria. Then we say that this is a hotspot and actions are required accordingly. Then it becomes a kind of permanent hotspot for the entire region or the entire in different seasons or for the entire year. And all the three criteria should be met, then only we can say that it becomes a hotspot. And how this hotspot identification helps in, it accounts for the variations in local and locations. There's so many locations are there, especially and temporally. Accounts long database to understand repeatability in air quality trends, prioritization of control actions, source specific, city specific. And this is how it is defined, that these three criteria are defined for the Delhi for the two critical months of winter of December, taking the winter data December. These maps are available for each month. We have prepared it for the each month, because if we merge the for the season, then the control action becomes slightly difficult again. So we want to go very critically month by month. Weekly, it will be very difficult to implement any control action, but at least we can say on the monthly basis what should be the criteria. So you can see certain critical hotspots again, which are looking red or dark red here. These are the areas where the very high concentrations are observed and which meet all the three criteria. The next level of that, and there is no green spot or nearly green spot or even the yellow. So all the levels during winter were more than 120. You can see here more than 120, nothing less than that. And on the other contrary side, then during the month of May, we can say that the levels were mostly green and yellow. That means the levels were mostly in the range of up to 120, though it is not in the within the standards, but still as compared to winter month, it is reasonably good. So what it derives is that the city level interventions are required, city scale interventions are required in the winter months, and this in summer it is more of a local kind of interventions are required more. So air pollution hotspot declaration is based on this criteria, and then accordingly the control actions are required for this. So just give you an example that Delhi has planned several control measures by the government side, plus the GRAB, the graded response action plan that was implemented from 15th of October to 15th of February every year, for last 4 or 5 years. And Delhi government or the state or central government has their own approach to control the air pollution in Delhi, hotspot management, where the area specific pollution control measures are to be implemented, then construction dust management, then strong networking or war room setup to get the complaints from the pollution activities and try to address them, tree plantation, action against stubble burning, encouraging electric vehicles. So all those measures were planned and were taken. But some of the things that they ban on construction activity during the 3 months period, I have observed that when such kind of actions are taken without taking into the local activities or local emissions into consideration, this results, if this part of this road gets damaged, then it will lead to more air pollution, or it has been becoming the more source of air pollution rather than ban on the construction activity. So again, it has to be that what should be the real application, though it is a broader framework of the ban on the construction activity. Maybe the new activities or the which are planned for certain new construction should be banned, but where the repairing the road is damaged, those repairing work or the maintenance work needs to be done, so that itself does not become a source of air pollution. And this particularly in the Delhi area, this has been seen as a serious issue. So if the construction ban, this means everything activity is halted and this remained like that for 3 months, and the vehicles are passing on these roads and creating a lot of air pollution or the resuspension of the road dust. So what is the effectiveness of the control action? I just got this input from the got it from the Times of India, published recently on February 17th, 2022. And it was compared when this graph or the control actions were taken from October 15 to February, what was achieved. So severe days were again more or less similar, 19 during this period, in the 3 months period, and poor and very poor, 86, moderate 13, only 1 or 4 are the satisfactory days during this 5 months period. 5 months or 4 months period. And during this period, whenever there was because this year there were a lot of rain in between, and that helped in improving the situation, but as such there is not much improvement in the air quality of the control actions which were implemented did not result into the desired outcome. It seems from this kind of analysis and what could be thought of. So what again it requires is the needs effective implementation of the different control actions, and there had to be these control actions these are the broad frameworks. The graph again is, I would say, this is broad framework and needs to be looked into, broken down into local activities. Local means which is in the vicinity of that area. If our air quality monitoring site becomes a kind of representative of that, so what is happening within 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers, first that should be looked into. Then monitoring of the control effectiveness of the control measures, and need to visit the again approach or the action plans or the control measures, those are prepared. So to almost coming to the end of the presentations. So now for setting up the priorities for control plan for action, for priorities for action plan for hotspots, and that hotspot is basically a non-attainment area. I mean, if you look at in the holistic view, there could be city-wise variation will be there. Even within the city, there will be locality-wise or ward-wise variations would be there. Air quality monitoring station-wise variations would be there. Sources-wise variation would be there. Sector-wise would be there. Parameter-wise there. Season-wise there. So huge variability is associated with respect to all these attributes. Then what is the control required at each source, and how the meteorological parameters and other conditions are playing a role between the source and the receptor, where the air quality is monitored, and what is within the vicinity of that receptor. And this certainly requires huge amount of funds and time and willingness and commitment to improve the air quality of any area. And of course, all these action plans are to be prepared with evidence-based decision making has to be there with respect to the air pollution sources, what is taking place from source to the receptors, and what it can have the exposure on the people those are exposed to the high levels of air pollution. And that there is a continuous need for improvement in the understanding of the air pollution sources, atmospheric pathways, and the impacts and the control measures that needs to be taken, and whether these control measures are applicable or not for the city specific issues, and to what extent it will lead to improvement. All those needs to be properly evaluated, enhance the capability of the local bodies who are responsible for management of air pollution, and implement them for better air quality in the area. So just to conclude, each city and regions are not same and similar. Your city, that city, this city, all are different. Therefore, city specific, region specific, and site specific mitigation strategies need to be formulated. Needs simplified approach which is easily understood and implementable by everyone. So the documents or the direction should be such which the common man can understand and can easily follow it. Need to account and integrate for frequently changing local developmental activities or development policies and conditions. That is also very important. So everything is dynamic in nature. It does not make it that if you have made action plan, this action plan, what is the life of that action plan? it could be few years, couple of years. Then again, this needs to be revisited depending upon the local situations, local conditions, how it is there. Set sector-wise smart goals in holistic manner to achieve sustainable improvement in the targeted time and area. Need to work fast. We need not to plan for longer duration. There are many activities which can be done quickly. They find out the quick solutions in the identification of quick hotspots. Like it could be daily, what we are saying as a hotspot, there could be some daily hotspots also there. And these are not the which require the long-term action. These require very short-term actions. So those can be, those kind of problems can be fixed very quickly. But the only thing is that we need to identify the problems very quick, very fast, and take the action accordingly. If there is some road damage is there, why it should wait for a few months to understand that there is a problem of air pollution because of this? It is well known. So that problem needs to be fixed immediately, so that does not become a source of air pollution. Need to create proper execution mechanism and ensure its effective implementation. That is very important. So again, to summarize further, the key lessons are from this discussion, this lecture, I would say that the proper diagnosis or the understanding of air pollution issues and hotspot is very important. That we should understand first what is the problem in that area. We are should not be governed even by the what is happening in the entire city, but first see if this area, the local small area, start with that, and then it can be expanded further to the other regions. The identification of visible sources, again, as I said, the road dust, the condition of the road, lot of dust you will find along the pathways, unpaved roads. These are very common things. Or even if on some dividers, you will find that both sides of the dividers, a lot of dust is there, which gets again entrapped into the wheel along with the wheels and becomes suspended into the atmosphere. This becomes a major source of air pollution. And if your air quality monitoring is located somewhere close to that roadside, it becomes a havoc kind of situation I have shown you in the Anand Vihara. Quantification of possible emission source contribution, and then formulation of appropriate control strategy looking into the micro level requirements, and then implementation with continuous monitoring of effectiveness. So with this, I think this is the last slide. Thank you very much. And I look forward to your clear sky, blue sky, and see that all the NCAP cities and the other cities, also the entire country, we have a very clear atmosphere, and we enjoy we breathe the fresh air and enjoy the breathe air. We do a lot of exercises to strengthen our lungs and all. So thank you very much. This is all from my side. Thank you very much, and I look forward to a few questions to respond to you. Thank you very much.